Hey Deckers, GTA 5 is still one of the most played games on Steam Deck, so we thought we'd take a look at the best settings, and we actually noticed some strange things happening in this game. Not all to do with the story itself, the game is extremely engaging, but what's going on with the battery and the wattage usage is a little bit crazy. So we tested this online and offline with both 40Hz on and 40Hz off, medium, high, low settings, and the results were actually all very similar. The power wattage was consistently up in the 28s, meaning we're only getting around an hour to an hour and a half battery life. Didn't seem to matter what we were doing or where we were going, the result with the power usage was always the same. So I'm not sure if there's a bug with the game on this one, or whether there's something else going on. But the other thing that was very consistent is online was definitely much worse at performing than any of the story mode stuff. So before we get into the main best settings, I do just want to cover off a couple of gotchas with this game during the installation process so that it doesn't catch you out. First of all, during the installation process, make sure you untick the boxes to install to the desktop, and also on the last step to run the launcher after completion. This runs the launcher within the launcher instance and will just cause you an error and some panic. So make sure you untick the Run Rockstar Games launcher on Closebox and it will go through the process. The next problem though is you're going to get an activation required box. If you've not played this before, it's going to ask you for this activation code and nobody told you that you needed one. So what you'll need to do is come into the game properties, into the settings icon, and in manage you'll find that there's this CD keys button. Clicking it says copy to keyboard, but don't believe it, it doesn't seem to work. So make sure you take a photo of that activation key or write it down somewhere, because for me it wouldn't paste in and I had to go back and do it manually anyway. So good luck if that actually pastes in, otherwise it's manual entry. Apart from that and the annoyance of being asked whether you want to play online or offline each time, you can also change that in the properties. You are good to go. So our best settings that we found for this one is to pretty much turn everything down to the lowest. So FXAA on, MSAA at 4 times, VSync on, population density, variety and distance scaling to the 1 off minimum, the quality for textures, shaders and shadow at normal, as well as the reflection quality. Turn the reflection MSAA off, water quality, grass shadows and post FX all at normal with soft shadows on soft, 4 times anisotropic filtering and ambient occlusion off, as well as tessellation off. Weirdly enough, in game it will still creep up to that 28 watts, so what you need to do is come into your performance settings for the Steam Deck and keep the refresh rate at 60 but bring the frame rate limit down to 30. Then something magical happens. It will go from 28 watts usage after a little bit of time and it will drop down to 15. So considering it doesn't hold 40 to 60 frames per second consistently in game, capping this at 30 frames per second will give you a much more stable game overall, but also will extend that battery life to around 2 hours. If you're going to be playing this connected to power or not for more than an hour, then you can remove that frame cap and have a bit smoother gameplay, anywhere between 40 and 60 frames per second in story mode. But if you want to play this online, then you're not really going to get more than 30 frames per second anyway. It will still online creep above the 20 mark up to around 24 on occasion with a lot of stuff going on. So you're still only going to get around an hour and a half battery life online. So you're going to want to be close to power anyway, but capping it at that 30 frames per second will give you a much more stable experience and it will still dip under the 30s on some occasions. Whereas story mode, it never dips below 30. Let us know in the comments below if you're going to be playing GTA 5 online or offline and what your experience has been to date. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.